name's Andrew. Thanks for joining Maribyrnong Home Coders for Maribyrnong Libraries. Today we're going to do another knock-knock joke, but this time we're going to do one where you can interact with the knock-knock joke a little bit more than usual. So we're going to start by deleting the little cat, and for this knock-knock joke we're going to choose another fantasy background. So I reckon inside a castle. So we're using the backdrops menu to get that. Just like that. And now we want some characters. So we'll click on the choose a sprite menu down here. And for this we're going to use fantasy characters. So we want the elf. And back down to choose a sprite. Fantasy characters, and we want the fairy as well. So we're just going to arrange the fairy and the elf on our screen. I think the fairy might want to be a bit bigger. Let's make 150. So 1.5 times what she usually is. And let's click on the elf, and we'll also make the elf 1.5 times the normal size. And we kind of want them to face each other, so I'm going to turn the elf around. So I'm going to click on the elf and click on the costumes tab, and now I can do flip horizontal just here to turn him around. We'll go back to the code and we can start coding. So we want to start our little animation when the green flag here is clicked. So we need to go to events, drag over our when green flag clicks, and what's the first thing we're going to have? Yep, we're going to have a knock knock. So we'll click on looks, and we're going to bring over, say something, in this case hello, for 2 seconds. We're going to make it knock knock. And on some of our previous exercises we have also added a sound, so we're going to do that as we go this time rather than going back and doing it at the end. So we can go to the sounds tab just here, and I seem to remember we were using a percussion sound which was called tap conga. So we're going to do that sound. And I'll just play it so that you know how it sounds. Yeah, it sounds a little bit like when you get an instant message on Messenger or something like that. So we're going to click the start sound, tap conga. Let's just see what happens when we click the green flag. Knock knock, and it goes for 2 seconds. Perfect. Now we're going to do the same thing that we had in our last knock knock exercise, which is we're going to broadcast some messages. So broadcasting messages is down here in the control area. Oh, actually, no, it's not. It is in events. I find those colours very, very similar. Alright, so we're going to broadcast message 1, and then we're going to have the fairy receive message 1 and respond. So let's program the fairy. So click on the fairy down here, and when the fairy receives message 1, we want her to do something. So we probably want her to say, "Who's there?" Yeah, that would make sense with a knock knock joke. So let's click down on sending, and we want to ask this time, because this is where we're going to be able to type in a word. So we're going to ask who's there. Who's there? Alright. And wait. Now we might also use that tap conga sound on here. So we don't have that sound for our fairy yet. So we're going to have to get that sound put into the fairy sprite here. So it's a percussion sound, it's right down the bottom, tap conga. Now it's available for the fairy to use as well. So let's go back into coding and we will start sound tap conga. As I explained previously, the difference between start sound and play sound until done is nothing else can happen if you select play sound until done until the sound is completely finished. But if you have start sound, the sound will start playing and then other things can happen at the same time. Now, what shall we do next? We will do something new, which is an answer. So I'm going to create a new variable. We'll see how these work as we go along. So I'm going to call this who's there. So now I'm going to drag this one over and change the my variable to who's there. And on sensing, I'm going to grab this little answer thing and let's just click it to see what happens. Knock knock. Who's there? Oh, okay, so we can type an answer. Rob. Okay, so who's there is Rob, so that's kind of recording what the answer is. Now after this, we probably want to broadcast a message back to the elf. So let's go back to events and we're going to broadcast a new message, just message 2. It just helps us keep track. We've got them going 1, 2, etc. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the elf. What should we have happen next? We want the elf to receive message 2. So let's go to the looks area and we want the elf to say our answer. So we don't want it to say hello. So let's go back to sensing and we can pop in our answer here. And we probably also want our tap conga sound. So let's go to sounds and start sound tap conga. And then we want to broadcast another message. So let's go back to events and broadcast message 3. Let's make a new message. Right. And everything is just happening there in the background. Message 3. Now, we might just click on that again just to see what's happening. Knock knock. Who's there? Let's type in elf. And then the elf says elf. Hooray! So that's working. So they're having a conversation, but we've decided what the answer is. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. We're going to make the fairy sort of put the elf on the right track, because if the elf doesn't say the right thing, then the joke's not really going to work. So we're going to start a new bit of code for the fairy. So we're going to grab this when I receive message here. So when I receive message 3, we're probably going to have a tap conga sound. So let's just drop that in because we know we always want honker sound when something new happens with a message. What we want to happen in the joke is for the elf to say the word tank so that the joke works. So if you type in something that's not tank, we want the fairy to then say, hey, could you type in tank, because then the joke will work. If you don't type in tank, the joke is not going to work. So let's see how we go. Let's type in let's put in an ask. So for this, don't say your real. You need to say something funny, like tank. Tank's not a really funny word, is it? But I guess in the joke, it's going to be funny. You'd hope so. Funny is spelled funny. There we go. That's got the right number of N's in it now. So we've got, don't say your real name. Maybe we should make that an exclamation mark so that she's kind of annoyed. Just need to say something funny like tank. Okay. Alright, so the next thing we want to add is we want to set another variable. So we're going to call this variable joke answer. There we go. So we're going to set joke answer to be the answer that we typed in, that we will type in. So let's drag this over, and then what happens? Knock knock. Who's there? Let's say Steve. Steve the elf. Steve. Don't say your real name, you need to say something funny like tank. Well, at the moment, nothing else is going to work because we haven't put in the code, but this is as far as we've got. Now we need to make sure that if we type the wrong answer again, so if we don't type tank, we need the fairy to keep saying, come on, type tank. Type tank, otherwise this joke is not going to happen. So we're going to use an if else, in fact. So here we go. If we drag this over. So if the answer equals tank, we want it to do something. If the answer doesn't equal tank, we want it to do something else. So let's drag over one of these blank equals something else. Bit of block here. Whoops, didn't want that to go. So we want to then pop in the answer. So if the answer equals tank, what do we want it to do? Probably ask tank who. So let's do that. Let's go to looks and drag over, say, tank who. You can probably guess where this joke is going. And we might want to tap conga as well. Start sound, tap conga. And then we would want to prompt the elf to do something. So we might want to send another message. So let's broadcast. Oh, and we want the fairy to wait as well. So let's create a new message, which is message 4. So we're broadcasting message 4 and waiting. Let's see. And then what if the elf doesn't say tank? What do we want to do? We probably want to ask again. So let's ask, say tank. So we want to make it really obvious what they need to do. And we probably want to tap in a conga sound. So let's drag tap conga into here. And let's see what happens. Knock knock, who's there? Let's say Sally. Sally the elf this time. Sally. Don't say a real name, you need to say something funny. Like tank. Okay. What if I don't want to say tank? I want to say hot dog. Say tank. Okay, that's good. What if I type in something else? Mop. That stops. We might need to add a bit more code because we want that fairy to keep prompting over and over and over again. So for that, let's use over in the control area a forever. And we want the forever to start just after the joke answer so that this whole bit of code, the if and else, keeps going forever and ever and ever until we get the answer tank. So let's give this a go. Let's press the green flag. Knock knock. Who's there? Let's try goat. Oh, don't say your real name, you need to say something funny. Like tank. I'm not going to say tank, I'm going to say kettle. Say tank. No, I'm going to say beanbag. Say tank. Okay, so that's going again and again and again. What if we type tank? Tank who? Ah, right, I think we're ready for the punchline. Ooh, and we're getting a tap and a tap and a tap and a tap that's just going forever. Hopefully when we add our next bit of code, that will stop. So let's see, what do we want the elf to do now? So let's click over onto the elf. So we want to receive message for. Let's go back to events. When I receive message for, what do I want to do? I want to say the punchline, which is, you're welcome. Which is pretty hilarious. And we want a tap conga. Start sound tap conga just before that. And jokes are good to have a bit of a laugh at the end of. So now we need to find the sound in here. Let's add a laugh. So that would be in voice. And I seem to remember there's a really good crowd laugh. There we go. Let's bring that one in. Go back to our code. And play sound crowd laugh until done. And then we want to stop everything so that we don't get lots of extra sounds going. So let's go to control. There's a stop all here. There we go. Now, we also probably don't want to have this information up here, the who's there and the joke answer. So let's just go into variables and we'll unclick the little tick boxes there so that we can't see them. Now let's give everything a go. Knock knock. Who's there? Jill. Jill the elf. Don't say a real name, you need to say something funny like tank. No, we're going to say say knife. No, tank. Let's type in tank. Tank who? You're welcome! And the big laugh. Ah, that's hilarious. Wow, so we've done another knock knock joke, and this time we've been able to interact with it and type in our own answers. So that's all worked out really well. So if you want to see how this is done, we have this project on our Maribyrnong Home Coders Studio, which is on the scratch.mit.edu website. And so you can have a look at all of the code that's in here. So if you get stuck, you'll be able to see what I've done. And you can also just remix the project. So if you wanted to change it to another joke, or change the characters, or whatever you'd like to do, you're welcome to do that as well. So hopefully you've learnt some interesting stuff today, and you can do all sorts of really interesting stuff with your knock knock jokes and your scratch coding. So thanks very much for joining me today. My name's Andrew for Maribyrnong Home Coders at Maribyrnong Libraries. Bye!